Hello, I'm Robert Peterson. I've been in the martial arts for over 40 years, and I've been teaching for about 25, 30 years. And so within, there's different martial arts. There's different methods of teaching the martial arts, especially with the new age, how martial arts is taught today. When I go over things, it's not in the modern sense. I'm fully traditional, and I keep everything traditional. I keep everything practical, because it's simple terminology. Martial means military, combat, okay? And they refer to the people that started the martial arts, started karate in Okinawa. They refer to them as warriors, okay? So when you train, you have to train that way. You have to train as if your life depended on it. Because in today's world, your life depends on it. Point blank. However you train in the school, that's what's going to happen out there in the world, okay? I've been pondering on this for about 5 to 10 years, and I made a decision. I made a decision because the world's getting more violent. So when the world gets more violent, we as martial artists have to get more aggressive. Okay? If we don't get aggressive, we're going to lose a life. Or we're going to lose a life to a loved one. So you have to train that way. You have to train as your life depended on it. It's not about a point. It's not about winning a plastic trophy or a little medal that goes around your neck. All right? That's preparation. I'm talking about martial arts. Okay? Not martial sports. Okay, so let's go over the list so we understand what's going on. Martial sports. What follows under martial sports? Anything that you in a tournament, MMA, that's a martial sport. Okay? Anything that's done in front of an arena for entertainment is a martial sport, because that is a sport. Okay? You're doing a sport, so it's called martial sport. It's not martial arts. Martial arts is something you do for a way of life. You're practicing for a way of life. You are training using everything. You don't pull your punches. You don't train just to fight one opponent. Multiple scenarios. You don't train just to fight someone who's throwing a technique that's similar to your techniques. You're training to defend against something, whatever it is. And one thing that's been in my training, what my instructor passed on to me, once you get a black belt, we go under firearm safety. We go under firearm training. We shoot guns. Okay? That's a big part of the martial arts. It wasn't part of the martial arts back then because guns wasn't invented yet. We have to keep evolving with the martial arts. What's available with the weaponry nowadays? Guns, firearms, along with other modern weapons. Even though we used to the traditional weapons, we have to also use the modern weapons also that's available to us. Okay? Not just a bow, a kama, a tampa, a nunchaku. They had to use those because they wasn't allowed to have weapons. Well, we're in the United States of America. We're allowed to have weapons. That's part of our Second Amendment. Learn it, know it, live it. Okay? Same thing with the First Amendment. Freedom of speech. All right? And anyone tries to take that from me, I'm going to take it from them first. I don't sit and wait for somebody to attack me. I attack first. I'll take you out. And that's how you have to be. Once somebody approaches you and you feel like you're in danger, take them out. Whatever you have to do to go home, to see your wife, your kids, your family. You're going to have to do that. Okay? Because you have to. It's better to be tried by a jury than be carried by 12 men. Or 6 men, I'm sorry. It's better to be tried by 12 than to be carried by 6. Learn that. That's what my first instructor taught me in Columbus. That's what we learned in Columbus, Ohio. It's better to be it's better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. That's very important to understand. That means that you're going to go home, whatever it takes. And luckily, I live in the state of Florida, where the local law enforcement tells me, yeah, go ahead and do that. That way, we don't have to waste our time and waste our funds on another criminal. Go ahead and do what you have to do. Make sure you do what you have to do so you can go home, so you can live a healthy life, so you can live a peaceful life. Okay? So understand, you're going to have to do whatever is necessary to be able to go home. And that's what I teach. I just started saying, okay, I'm done. I'm done with playing all these games and political correctness. Done with all that. From here on out, any student that trains under me, when they walk through them doors, either they want to train or they don't. If they don't want to train, I'll recommend them to another martial arts school, or I tell them where the nearest cheerleading squad's at, so they can go do all that stuff. Okay, we don't do that. We train in the martial arts, and I know you hear a lot of people saying, "I do this, I do that," but yeah, we train in the martial arts. Example. My little cousin, 4 years old, she came to me, Kayla. She came to me and she says, Bobby, I want to be able to punch as hard as my daddy. How can I do that? I said, well, the big secret to punching hard is doing knuckle push-ups on a hard surface. That's the number one secret. So you're going to have to work your way towards that. And she did that. I took a trip. Now that was when I was in Columbus, Ohio. I took a trip down to Florida to visit family. And I get back up to Columbus, Ohio. I see this little 4-year-old with her wrist turned in, and she looked so cute, doing knuckle push-ups on the sidewalk. Her heart was there. So then I started teaching her. I had a 45-degree angle heel and put a log on her shoulders when she got older. Not when she was 4, that would be crazy. But as she got older, when she got a little bit older, like she's about 10, put a little log, not nothing too big, put it on her shoulder, and had her throw kicks. She was throwing front kicks up the hill, side kicks down the hill with a log on her shoulder. We go over to the creek. Then on the stepping stones, she's sparring me. And she has to stay on the stones, and I have to stay on the stones. And we stay on them stones, and we spar. We go in the alley where the gravel's at. We take our shoes off. We toughen our feet up. Okay? We work on, I was teaching her how to condition her body, her arms, her anything that strikes with makawari and different things similar to a makawari. Training her full body. So when she had to protect herself, she was able to do that. Then she asked me if she can go to my school where I trained at. I said, yeah, no problem. I took her up there. And she was beating them kids up. I had to and then the instructor said, man, you chasing my students away, bud. What's going on? I said, okay. Caitlin, you can only sport black belts. All right? Only black belts. She can only sport black belts. Now, I understand she's only been doing this a little while. And she wasn't a black belt. And for one, I don't give black belt to kids. Simple fact. Bone structure. Okay? There's a training method you have to go through. It's not just punching in the air and doing all this stuff. It's bone structure. You have to hit makawari. You have to break things. And for a child's bones, you're going to break your bone before you break something. So therefore, that's why children cannot have a black belt. You have to understand the anatomy of the body and that traditional martial arts and what is required for a black belt to understand how everything works. Okay? So, understanding that point. So then what happened was these parents of these little black belts, junior black belts, was getting upset because Kayla was beating them. I said, okay, then you only spar adults. And she's just sparring these women, and she's beating them. So I said, okay, only men. You can only spar men. She hit a 3rd degree black belt that's been doing martial arts since he was like 15, and he was probably about 50 years old. And she kicked him, and he went off the mat into the dressing area where we changed at. And I was like, wow. I was like, I felt good because I taught her that. But I can only take half the credit. See, this is what people mess up at. The instructor can only take half the credit because the instructor only gives, and the student meets the instructor halfway. So if the student has to meet the instructor halfway, that means the instructor takes half the credit, which means the instructor says, I'll teach you this, but you have to do this. Now you have to train, and you have to practice what I teach you. So therefore, I felt proud because she listened to me. She did what I told her to do. She trained the way I told her to train. After that, she never lost a fight. The only fight she lost was in tournaments because he had to pull back, and she got disqualified from the tournaments many times. I said, okay, we're not going to tournaments anymore. Forget that, because that stuff's not real. That's for somebody who needs confidence and needs self-esteem and needs all that other stuff. And you already have that, so you don't need that. You already have all that stuff. You can take care of yourself out on the street, no problem. I'm most confident in that. She had a boyfriend when she was a teenager. So the boyfriend, the boyfriend tried to put his hands on her. She knocked him out. He was like 6'3". All right, so she's a female. So this is why when people say that females can't compete with males, so women can't get in men's sports and girls can't stay in the same league as boys. Well, that's debatable. That has everything to do with the heart of that girl and that woman. Now, not all women are created equally. Not all girls are created equally. Just so happens that my cousin, Caleb, was born with a fighting spirit. Okay? Some women have that fighting spirit and they take men out. And then some women, no matter how hard or whatever they do, They're built different, okay? Some women are not built different. So we can't say every one of them is weak and can't match up to a man. Because we don't know that, okay? We don't know that to be true. Because I know a lot of women that are warriors. There's a lot of female warriors, okay? And so, all that being said, I'm going to make this short, but I just had to explain that from here on out, no games. And the biggest thing we do is we do a mental check. We go and we make sure that everything's okay upstairs before I train you. I'm not going to give anybody any type of knowledge that's going to go out and use it in a bad way. Go out and hurt somebody. Go out and get offended. You go get offended just because somebody says something that you don't agree with. Well, you got to learn something. You're in America. And people are going to say a lot of stuff. And we are a peaceful country. But you mess with us. And you come to our land and you mess with us. You're going to find our rude awakening. You're going to see how unpeaceful we can be. Okay? And the same thing for people that's from here. All right? If you have some type of mental disorder, some type of problem where you can't see, a mental disorder comes in many ways. A mental disorder is somebody who is too sensitive. If you're too sensitive, you have a mental disorder. All right? That's point blank. Don't be sensitive. Understand that you have to be able to deal with life. You have to deal with people. That's being good. That's being understanding how everything works in life. All right? When you have a mental disorder, so we're going to use this word sane and insane. If you're sane, you can take what somebody says to you without getting all sensitive. When you're insane, that means you get all bent out of shape when somebody tells you a little something. That's being insane. That's mental. Okay? So I'm not teaching those people because I'm not going to give those people any ammunition to hurt somebody. Especially some peaceful person who just wants to live life, just wants to help others. Okay? So, understand how life is. And understand that through the martial arts, you have an obligation. And through life, you have an obligation. So, just train right, train peaceful. You have to be physical. It is a physical sport. It is physical. You have to be able to go physical with it. And then just train. But if you have a mental disorder, you won't train with me. I'm not going to condone that. I can't pass on what two of my instructors taught me. One of them was in the, one of my instructors was in the Secret Service, while the other one was in the Homeland Security. And I had a student, one of my students, he was a Green Beret sergeant in Vietnam. And he cleaned up some of my stuff. See, that's a humble instructor. To me, I looked at him, okay, you was a Green Beret sergeant in charge of all these troops in Vietnam. You have a lot to offer me in that aspect. And then in the martial arts, the curriculum for karate, I can offer that to you. So we get a trade back and forth. And then don't forget, weaponry is very important. Guns, knives, modern knife blades, modern guns, understand how they work, understand all that other stuff, okay? So before someone can teach you how to defend against a gun, you better go and take gun safety courses. Go to your local gun range or your local sheriff's department where they can recommend you where to go, okay? Learn how to use a gun. Learn how a gun works. If you don't know how a gun works, you cannot learn how to take a gun away. That's crazy. There ain't no way, if you don't know the mechanics of a firearm, if you don't know that some guns have hair triggers, you just touch the trigger and you just boom, you shot. Matter of fact, I teach my students this. 9 times out of 10, when somebody pulls a gun on you, you're getting shot. 9 times out of 10, when somebody pulls a gun on you, you're going to get shot. That's why I teach them to move it to the right. Move the gun to the right, not to the left. Your heart's on the left. Get some common sense. We got a lot of black belts out there who has a PhD in just being a moron, okay? And they just want to have that high rank black belt and they don't know nothing. So you have to make sure that you are training under the right person. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm very blunt, very outspoken. And my other videos before this one, you've seen I was laid back and talked real nice and polite and everything. Alright, but this topic had to be out, and you had to understand that we're done. We're done. I'm done putting up with violence. So when you step towards me or anybody who I teach, they're going to come at you a different way. You're not going to be peaceful. It's like, once you light that wig, some dynamite is going to blow up. That's the same thing that's going to happen with me or any of my students. Once you start that, once you initiate that, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Because we're not like the regular storefront martial arts school. We have more of a military type background with instructors. We're more military. My father, Lieutenant Colonel, okay? So my father was Lieutenant Colonel Albert James Frederick Peterson, second, okay? My grandfather, General Albert James Peterson, first, okay? So I have a military background with my family, all right? My family's military. My instructors, the people I trained with, were military. Okay, we're combative. So when you train with us, you're going to learn combat. You're going to learn how to be combative. You're going to understand some things. It's not about building your self-esteem. It's not about all that other stuff, because that's your feelings. That's not your physical. So when the physical altercation happens, your feelings are not going to help you at all. Okay? So you have to understand that when you get in a physical altercation, that you better know some physical skills. You better be able to defend yourself. Otherwise, game over. They're going to take you down, and all that self-esteem and self-confidence and all that stuff went right out the window. Nothing's going to work for you. So, with that being said, I hope this helped you a little bit. And again, I really don't mean to be so. If it offends you, that's not what this is for. This is just to tell you that we are done. We're done being polite. Before I go, I got to tell you one more thing. The definition of positive and negative. Definition of positive. Positive means telling somebody whatever they want to hear to make them happy. That's what positive means. Negative, what does negative mean? Negative means that when you just tell somebody the downright truth and you don't care how it makes them feel. So people are going to call this negative for that reason, because it's truthful. They didn't like it. They like their program. They like teaching how they teach. Because they're making $40,000 a month, $100,000 a month. Telling the student things that it's not true, telling the students things that the student wants to hear. And these videos that I make, I'm not trying to get rich off of them. I don't care about money. I don't care about getting rich. I care about just getting by. As long as I'm getting by, I'm good. As long as I get by, I'm good. And I'm not into material items. None of that stuff. As you see, this is a pretty basic setup. I don't spend unnecessary money. Just getting by. That's what I'm about. So if you want to go on the other side and listen to people that people got all this money and they do all this stuff and they got all this stuff going on, but they're not understanding how we live. People, the common people. Because once you step up to where the money's at and you have all that money, you disconnected to the common person. Whether you want to believe it or not, you are disconnected to the common person. Real fast, I'll prove that. Real quick, and then I'm done. All right. In the job market, all right, they let me go at a warehouse. Now, before I got the job, they told me I had to be able to speak and write English. That was the requirement. I said, okay, yeah, I can't speak no other language. So it's martial art terms. I'm good. Okay. So I went and I did the job. I was working at the job for about 3 weeks. They let me go. They let me go because I could not understand what my co-workers were saying. They was Haitian and Spanish. I did not understand what they were saying. They couldn't communicate with me. To me, it's their obligation to learn English to be able to communicate with me. It's not my obligation to learn their language to be able to communicate with them. Although sometimes I don't mind doing that. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that when you come to this country, our language is English. So if you don't make an effort to learn English, that tells me that you want to be separated from the natives here, from the people that's from here, from the Americans that live here, from the people that grew up here, from the Americans that bleed red, white, and blue, okay? So you want to be separated from them people, all right? Because you're not making an effort to learn English. So I don't bother with you. I'm not going to try to communicate with you. I'm not going to sit there and do Pictionary while I'm doing all these signals just to talk to you when you're not doing anything to try to learn English when you've been here for 10, 20 years and you don't know a lick of English. That's your fault. You've been here long enough. We have so many resources. Our government puts out millions and millions of dollars to teach people English. We're from a different land because we want to welcome you. But you don't want to be welcomed because you don't want to try to learn it. Take up your responsibility when you come to this nation. So, getting further with this, don't get me wrong. I like Trump. I like all these people. I like Trump. Talk about all these jobs. All right, these jobs. And the governor running DeSantis, the state of Florida, talking about all these jobs, but where are they? If you don't speak a different language, it's just like English is like the third language at the job. You can't get the job. All right? In 1 week, I went and did like 100 applications. Went to 100 jobs. It was like, I have a beautiful resume. The only thing is I don't speak Spanish. I'm from the United States. And I don't fit in with the DEI program, okay? I'm a white honky. I'm a cracker. So I don't get those adults, okay? So, I didn't mean to be that rude like that, but that's just how it is. And it's hard to get programs for us. All right, so I noticed I'm a little ramble, but I'm going to end it and just say that it's not what it seems. There's not jobs here. There's not jobs here. So they took our, don't get me wrong, I'm not for people just getting on food stamps and Medicaid and all the other stuff and not working, but first thing you fix is the jobs. Then you make the food stamps and Medicaid stricter. You can make that stricter, I have a problem with that. But fix the jobs first. Mandate the employers not to discriminate against you. And then Morgan, I called them to try to, and they said, no, you really don't have a case. So I don't have a case that the job told me what was required, and then they let me go because of the requirement that I had for the job. And they said it's not discrimination. I just don't see how that works. So, in that aspect, I'm going to let this go. And, you're going to get different thoughts about this video. You're going to, most people are not going to like it, but I don't care. I just put it out there. These are my notes. A lot of my videos are just my notes. They're for me. They're my notes. So I make these so I listen to them. And if somebody else wants to listen to them, that's good. You can listen to them. I don't care. And it's just how I am. It's my notes. And then I invite people who want to read, want